So I became a Spider-Man fan when I was younger. Um, so I didn't really know much about the character of Spider-Man. Like I feel like I've always knew about Spider-Man, like just based off of the comic books. Although like I wasn't necessarily into comic books. Like when I was younger. But I've always known about them, and I've seen the cartoon. So I was aware of Spider-Man like when I was younger. Like, and this is prior to the Sam Raimi movie, like the first one. So I was cognizant of it, but it wasn't until that Sam Raimi movie came out, like the live action version, that like I really, kind of became a fan. So, when I was younger, like I'll never forget it. This is actually one of my, my memories that like I never really forgot. Where when so once the first Spider-Man movie came out, I wasn't able to see it in theaters like right away. So yeah, so I wasn't able to see it like right away. So back in the day, like they used to have like like the bootleg DVDs and everything like that. So I had some family who who actually had like the DVD on bootleg. So I watched it first on bootleg before I actually went to the theater to see it. So I already had seen the movie multiple times. But clearly it wasn't a good quality because it was a bootleg. But although I seen it so many times prior to like me actually going to the theater, like I still really wanted to see it to get that full theater experience. And when I finally was able to do that, like that was actually like probably like, because how like when you go to the movies and like there's certain movies that kind of like that resonate with you, or like kind of like stick with you. And Spider-Man is actually one of those ones where even though I was, let's see, how old was I around that time? I think they came out in 2002, so I was about 8. I was probably about like 8 years old around that time, maybe 8, 9. And I remember vividly, like the theater experience and everything, so that, like, from there on, like I became a Spider-Man fan, like, full-fledged, like, so I was always like excited to, see the sequels, and I remember when Spider-Man 2 had came out, like this is still like, referring to like the Sam Raimi trilogy. When I seen the second movie, like, well, prior to me even seeing the second movie, like, that's the one Spider-Man that I'm actually upset that I never was able to, see in theaters, But I knew somebody like in my neighborhood around that time who actually seen it first, and I was so anxious to know like what happened, to the point where like I didn't even care to have the movie spoiled, because I really wanted to know like, okay, what happened? And the movie had already been out for like probably about a couple of weeks by that point. So I was really interested on how like Mary Jane was gonna react when Spider-Man, when Spider-Man's mask came off, so eventually, yes, I did see it, but that's the one movie to this day that I'm still upset about. Like, I remember not too long ago, actually like last year, there was actually like because how like movie theaters, they do certain like premieres where like they'll, you'll be able to watch like a movie that came out like a long time ago, and like they'll actually like, premiere it at one of the theaters. Like I was actually going to do that, but like I never was able to get around to it. But I promise, like if there's another time where where they're offering that, I'm definitely gonna do it. And then with Spider-Man 3, that's a whole nother thing, because I really, really. And now when it comes to Spider-Man 3, I made sure I redeemed myself for not going to see Spider-Man 2 in the theater. So I went there. I actually remember I went there to see Spider-Man 3, and I remember like the one thing I don't like too is like now like after the movie is like over with and everything, because everybody seemed to love it when it had first came out, but then like all of a sudden now I'm seeing on the internet that people didn't really like it. Now I understand, like when you look back on it, like the fact that they shoehorned Venom into it, that kind of like took away from like all of the other villains that was in the movie. But to be honest, like I still enjoyed the movie. Like I go back and watch it. Like it's one of my favorite ones. You know, I would say like when it comes to all Spider-Man, like all Spider-Man movies, I love the first Sam Raimi one, as I mentioned before, because I don't know, because that was the first, you know, Spider-Man movie. Well, that was the first movie to get me into Spider-Man. Let's just say, you know, so that's part of the reason for why like that's my favorite one. You know, I know a lot of people say that Spider-Man 2 is probably like one of the best, like the best written like superhero movies of all time, which is, you know, which is true. But for some reason, even though like, you know, like I said, even though it's still Spider-Man, like it's something about that first movie that kind of holds so much nostalgia to me, you know? And yeah, like that one stuck with me. Like if I had to, if you ask me right now, like what are, you know, what are like my top 5 movies, you know, Spider-Man would definitely be in them. You know, it would definitely be within that top 5, you know? So, but as I was saying, like I went to go see, you know, Spider-Man 3 in theaters with I actually recall I went with some friends, you know, and we definitely enjoyed it. You know, we definitely enjoyed it. And
I'm trying to get it out the way.
yeah, and plus, like speaking of like Spider-Man, like I used to like the movie games. I know a lot of people kind of don't really like the. I remember the first Spider-Man movie game was kind of difficult because they were still like the mechanics was still similar to like the older PS1 games, but yeah, and Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 2, like Spider-Man 2 and 3 were all good to me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like those are like probably like, you know, my favorite games. Like I would say that, because you know how like, you know, when it comes to movie game tie-ins, like they're normally not really that good. Like the only ones that I could think of outside of Spider-Man, like, you know, when it comes to movie tie-in games, is like the Wolverine X-Men Origins. Like that one is actually a classic. Like that's one that I actually want to go back and play myself. You know, but being that like that game, it came out so long ago, and you know it's going to be hard to find that. You know, maybe you could go on Amazon or something like that, and somebody is probably selling it. You know, selling it used. You know, so and speaking of Wolverine, it's actually about to come out this year, so I'm definitely waiting for that. You know, but that's pretty much you know, my story. Like when it comes to, you know, why I'm so much of a fan of Spider-Man, and I actually want to make this a series. Like I want to make this a series of like, you know, me just creating videos over, you know, speaking over gameplay, where I can you know, just express how much I like a certain character, like in a game. You know, a game or like, you know, superhero or like, you know, et cetera, you know. But thank you for watching though.